What if you could get through your entire day to, navigate all the most predictable stressors?
Like the unfair criticism from a manager?
Right. Or the impossible client,
Yeah.
or that passive-aggressive relative we all have, and not get angry, not get frustrated or bothered.
It sounds like a fantasy.
It really does. But it's the central promise of the system we extracted from this week's sources. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore that complete framework for, well, achieving genuine emotional unshakability.
It sounds like a psychological superpower, but the core insight is actually deceptively simple. It's all rooted in neuroscience.
Yes.
That anger and that chronic frustration, they are never inevitable reactions. They aren't things that happen to you.
They're controlled by you.
Exactly. They are entirely controlled by the cognitive and physiological pathways that you choose to reinforce.
And that's the crucial pivot point. Because most of us think, if someone acts terribly, getting upset is just. It's a mandatory consequence. It's a tax you pay.
But it's not, and the material gives us a complete step-by-step system for short-circuiting that whole reaction. It lets you move past those common failure points and achieve what they call emotional independence.
And we should be clear, this is not about suppression.
No, absolutely not. The goal is not to become some emotional robot who never feels anything. Emotions are necessary data.
They're information.
Right. But we want to respond consciously with clarity instead of reacting automatically in, like, a chemical panic. It's not about willpower, it's about knowledge and technique.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the core diagnosis.
Yeah.
Why do we default to those harmful reactions in the first place?
The sources identify 3 specific mental errors. They call them the emotional traps, and they keep us stuck.
The traps are key then, because they explain why we feel so victimized.
They do. The first one is the personalization trap. This is that reflexive assumption that other people's behavior, especially when it's negative, is a deliberate, targeted attack on you.
Give us a concrete example here, because this happens dozens of times a day, right? Often subtly.
Think about being cut off in traffic. It's the classic trigger. The personalization trap says, that driver did that to disrespect me and my right to be here.
Or at work. A colleague doesn't reply to a big email for 2 days.
And the trap tells you they're ignoring me, they're trying to sabotage my timeline, my work isn't important to them.
And the second you personalize it, you've automatically made yourself the victim.
You've made yourself the victim. And now you're suffering based on a story you completely invented about their motives.
When the reality
The powerful reality check here is that 99% of people's actions have nothing to do with you. The driver was probably rushing to the hospital. The colleague is drowning in 300 emails.
The moment you depersonalize it, the emotional charge just vanishes.
It dissipates.
So that first trap is just a form of self-sabotage. What about the second one?
That is the expectation trap. This is when we have these rigid rules about how people should behave.
Oh, this is a big one.
It's huge. We have this internal rule book. People should be on time. My boss should recognize my hard work. My partner should know what I need without me saying it.
And when reality deviates from that script, which it always does,
We suffer.
intensely.
You're basically demanding the world conform to your personal preferences. It's a setup for constant disappointment. People act based on their own stress, their trauma.
Their own values.
Yeah.
Exactly. We need to replace the word should with prefer. You might prefer that people are respectful, but expecting it is unrealistic. It's outsourcing your emotional stability.
And that leads right into the third and maybe the most painful trap, the control trap.
This one is the illusion that your emotional reaction, your burst of anger, your frustration, can somehow manipulate or force other people to change.
We get angry because we think it'll make them be better next time.
We do. But the harsh reality is anger, yelling. It almost always achieves the opposite. It just makes the other person defensive and resistant.
It reinforces the bad behavior. It creates a vicious cycle. So avoiding these 3 traps, that's the philosophical foundation. But, philosophy is pretty useless when the alarm is actually ringing in your head.
That's right. Because the science shows us our brain moves way faster than our logic, which means we have to talk about the physical process of an emotional hijack.
Understanding this neurochemistry is really the first step to freedom. Emotions aren't like lightning strikes. They're predictable physiological events.
Okay.
When your brain registers any kind of threat, a real one, or say an annoying email from a coworker, your amygdala, that's the threat detection center, triggers an emotional hijack in milliseconds.
And that speed is what defeats us. It's an instant flood.
It is. The system gets flooded with stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol prepping you for fight, flight, or freeze. And here's the critical fact. During this, the prefrontal cortex,
The rational thinking part.
right, the part for impulse control and good judgment, it goes temporarily offline.
So when we say or do something we instantly regret, it's not really a moral failing. It's a neurochemical event. The rational brain just lost the power struggle.
Exactly. And the window to intervene is incredibly tight. That initial chemical surge usually peaks and starts to fade within, what, 6 to 20 seconds?
That's it.
That's it. If you can create space in that tiny window, you get your ability to choose back. Understanding this depersonalizes the whole reaction.
And knowing that window exists leads directly to the first line of defense,
Mhm.
what the sources call the pause protocol.
It all comes back to that Viktor Frankl quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
In that space is our power to choose our
And
response.
pause protocol is about physically interrupting the hijack. The most immediate tool is level 1. The breath pause, the moment you feel the warning signs, the heat rising, fists clenching.
You intervene with conscious breathing, and the sources are really specific about the rhythm here, right? Not just any breath.
Not at all. They emphasize the extended exhale. The technique is inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts.
And then exhale slowly for 6. Why is that longer exhale so important?
Because it directly stimulates the vagus nerve, which is basically the main highway of the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest system.
Precisely. You are literally hitting the biological brakes on the fight or flight response. You're signaling to your brain that the threat is manageable.
Okay, so what if the breath pause isn't quite enough? We move to level 2.
The physical pause. This means removing yourself from the situation. Excuse yourself, go to the restroom, take a short walk, even just change your posture.
Movement is key.
Movement is crucial. It helps metabolize the adrenaline and cortisol still in your system. You're physically shaking off the chemical remnants of that hijack.
And then there's level 3, the time pause for the really high stakes situations.
Yes, like a hostile email or a major confrontation. This is where you wait hours, or even a full 24 hours before you respond.
So you let the prefrontal cortex come fully back online.
100%. The trick is to draft that furious reactive email.
Get it all out.
Get it all out, save it, and then promise yourself you will not look at it again until the next day. You have to sleep on it.
That's a powerful piece of psychological protection. So we've covered the body and the physical intervention. Now we get to the core of lasting change, the cognitive shift.
Or what they call the reframe revolution. This is where you take control of the story. Remember, reality is just the facts. The boss gave critical feedback.
The story is the meaning you attach. Like, the boss hates me, this project is doomed, I'm incompetent.
And it's the story that generates the emotion, so we have to consciously choose a more empowering narrative.
For example, instead of resentment, I could choose the story. She has high standards because this project is strategically vital.
And that generates determination. So the sources provide a few specific reframing tools. The first is the ignorance reframe.
Okay, how does that work in practice?
If someone says something rude in a meeting, instead of assuming malice, you assume they're simply unaware, uninformed. They lack the social intelligence to act better.
So you generate patience instead of anger. You can't be furious at someone for being ignorant.
Right. And then there's the pain reframe.
This one feels really important.
It's maybe the most useful tool. Hurt people, hurt people. If your colleague snaps at you, the default story is they're aggressive. The pain reframe says, they are not angry at me, they're terrified of failing, or under immense stress at home, and I was just the nearest target.
That immediately transforms everything. It shifts the focus from their action against you to their own internal suffering. And the last one.
The learning reframe. This is about radical responsibility. It views every difficult person as a training opportunity.
The difficult colleague isn't a problem. They are your patience trainer.
Exactly. Forcing you to build resilience.
But wait, how do you maintain that with someone chronic? Like a family member who's been pushing your buttons for 20 years? It's easy to say, they're my trainer about a stranger.
That's a powerful point. For those chronic situations, the commitment to the learning reframe means you have to detach your self-worth from the interaction. You're not trying to fix them.
You're using the predictable failure of that interaction.
To strengthen your personal ability to stay calm. Their continuous offense becomes a consistent workout for your emotional muscle. You redefine success as just maintaining your own peace.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because we can apply these principles strategically to specific personality types.
Right. The sources offer strategies for 4 common archetypes. Let's start with the aggressive dominator, the yeller, the interrupter.
The natural reaction is to either yell back or just shut down completely. What's the strategic move?
The key is emotional contagion in reverse. You refuse to match their energy, you use a lower, slower tone.
You force them to come down to your level.
You do, and you can use the broken record technique. State your position or boundary calmly and just repeat it verbatim until they get that escalation won't work.
I worry that might just infuriate them more. Doesn't that feel risky?
It can feel risky, but remember, the dominator is counting on your emotional reaction to gain control. By staying flat and repetitive, you're denying them the drama they need. If they escalate, you use the physical pause. I'll continue this when we can speak professionally, and you walk away.
You set the rules of engagement, okay? Next, the passive-aggressive manipulator.
The person who punishes you with silence, coldness, subtle sabotage,
What's the play?
radical transparency. You have to bring the behavior out of the shadows. Calmly call it out. Use observations, not accusations. I notice you said you're fine, but you seem distant. I'd prefer you tell me directly what's on your mind.
You're forcing them into clarity, which they hate.
Exactly. You set a boundary that requires adult communication.
Okay, then there's the dreaded emotional vampire, the constant venter, the crisis creator.
The strategy here is compassionate detachment. You show empathy, but you set rigid boundaries. Before they even start, you say, I understand you're going through a lot. I have 15 minutes to listen, and then I have to get back to my work.
You set a clear expiration date on the energy drain.
And crucially, you don't try to solve their problems unless they ask.
Right. And finally, the narcissistic attention seeker.
The constant interrupter who has to be the loudest voice. You use strategic disengagement. They're fueled by the spotlight, so don't compete for it.
And what do?
Give brief, polite, non-committal acknowledgement. That's interesting, John, or thanks for sharing, then immediately redirect the conversation. Starve the drama of oxygen.
That is a fantastic toolkit for the moment. But for this to last, we have to talk about the long game, the detachment system.
This is the ultimate goal. Ensuring your internal state is determined by your choices, not by external events. It's built on emotional self-sufficiency.
Meaning you have to validate yourself internally.
Yes. If you rely on praise or external success for your self-worth, everyone around you holds the remote control to your peace.
And tied to that is outcome independence.
Absolutely. You have to decouple your self-worth from the results. You can work hard on a project, but your happiness doesn't rise or fall based on whether it succeeds.
So if a client rejects your best work, it's feedback, not a personal failure.
It makes attempts to shame or coerce you totally irrelevant to your inner stability.
And the final piece of this long game is maybe the most encouraging part. The science, the neuroplasticity advantage.
This confirms that lasting change is absolutely possible. Your brain is not fixed. It's neuroplastic. Every single time you choose the pause protocol instead of reacting.
You're firing and wiring new neural pathways.
You're strengthening the pathways for conscious choice and weakening the old reactive ones. The more you practice, the easier it gets. It becomes emotional muscle memory.
And there's a way to speed this up, right?
Yes, a technique called if-then planning. You take the choice out of the moment of stress by pre-programming the reaction.
So instead of just hoping you'll stay calm, you pre-plan. If my coworker interrupts me, then I will take 1 4-4-6 breath before I respond.
Precisely. You automate the regulated response. This builds what they call the ultimate mastery mindset, where you stop seeing difficult people as burdens and start seeing them as high-intensity practice opportunities.
They're your gym.
They're your gym for building resilience.
So what does this all mean for someone listening? You now have the knowledge, the traps, the science, and the techniques, the pause, the reframe, and the long-term roadmap. The transformation isn't about eliminating emotion.
It's about ensuring that your emotions inform you without consuming you.
You gain the power to choose your response rather than having it chosen for you.
The ultimate freedom here is realizing that no one can ever truly make you feel anger without your internal permission. You become genuinely unshakable. Most people will live their entire lives just cycling through these reactive patterns.
It's triggered by every little thing.
Exactly. But the choice to become emotionally free is available right now. It just requires that intentional commitment to practice.
So when you encounter your next predictable trigger, that relative, that high-pressure meeting, that moment in traffic, will you stick with the old reactive patterns, or will you commit to the pause, initiate the reframe, and begin the vital work of rewiring your brain today?